What's happening, everyone? It's Brandon here from Gearist, and today we're going to be taking a look at the R1 from Roll Recovery. Looking at the increasingly competitive percussion massage device market, that's kind of a mouthful, we really kind of look at a bunch of things that have a lot of high-end price tags down to some low-end price tags, but with that, a lot of the time is going to come a low-end material product. Now, when Roll Recovery decided to get into that market, after kind of having come out of the gate with their flagship model R8 massager, if you can see that right here, that's going to give you kind of a good idea. They were coming out really groundbreaking, a disruptor in the recovery market. The R1 is something that they wanted to approach and really make a good product that was actually accessible for people that didn't want to go and spend $500 or something like that on a percussion massage device. So as we get into the R8, we're going to take a look at how something in a compact size, attractive design, and at an accessible price tag really caters to both elite and amateur athletes alike. So the Roll Recovery R1 has an aircraft grade anodized aluminum body. Basically it's cylindrical, as you can see here, and it measures 5.6 inches this way by 3.6 inches this way. Now those dimensions do include the arm itself right here, kind of to the head of the red part on this color. There are actually some other colors that come with this, but it doesn't include the ball itself. If you include this, this is actually more like, again, 5.6 or so inches this way. The bottom half of the R1, you can probably see it here. This is actually some really great cross hatching that's going to add a little bit of grip, allow you to get back there and really torque into your body without it kind of sliding through your hand as a smooth object. And then down here at the bottom of the main cylinder, we see the power button. Below that, the USB-C charging port. And again, USB-C is kind of becoming standard, as well as status lights that kind of tell you what speed is going on up here. And then right below that little tiny dot down there, that guy is the status light saying whether it is charged or not. The massage arm itself right here has a very simple receiving end, you can see right there. It gives you your choice of 4 different massage heads. Those would include the soft ball head, the spike head, the flat head, and finally the dual-sided head. Switching the heads out is very, very simple. There's no twisting, anything like that. I mean, I guess you could twist it, but really what it is you see these kind of in like larger pieces here. Those are rubberized. All you do is put it in there, and I'll start to come up here and you go push, and that's it. It's in there, it's attached. So the first thing that I will say about the R1 in terms of the construction, the materials that we're feeling there, is that this really feels top notch in your hand. Yes, anodized aluminum has that tendency, just like a MacBook Pro, which is a computer that I use, to feel that kind of quality, really good weight in the hand and all that stuff. In a massage device, right, a percussion massage device, the interesting thing is the same percussions that are working on your muscles, that are really allowing this to drive into soft muscle groups and really kind of get into the harder stuff as you torque down on it. Those are the same kind of vibrating forces that can compromise a body that's made from something other than really, really high quality material. So if you're getting something that's a little bit more generic or kind of off-brand, those things probably aren't going to last as long because you're going to find them actually being shaken apart by themselves. Now, as we look at the compact size of the R1, I have to say that this is really, really very travel friendly. This is the big thing that stands out to me because you can put it in a toiletry bag. These heads, as they pop off, they can go in a toiletry bag or even carry on kind of one of those little pockets that's up there. This is really something that's going to be able to be very portable for you. There's nothing hanging off of it, assuming you take these off. And even with this on, it's not really hanging off per se. There are no arms or anything like that. It's just kind of a solid unibody construction. Also, as I mentioned a second ago, this cross hatching does a really good job because when you're pushing this in and you want to get up on your back and you're not just pushing straight down, but there's frequently kind of torque, especially with this ball attachment that's going to allow you to roll over and things like that. You're actually going to need some of that grip because if it were smooth, it's just going to slide through there. And finally, that USB-C, really smart. I'm really liking the way that, especially after the EU mandated that everything has to kind of begin rolling to universal USB-C charging ports. This is a really good way that people are beginning to go here as well, and I really appreciate that in this. So one possible drawback that I can mention for the R1, and I'll be honest, this did not really affect me, is that some massage devices are going to have an arm that actually kind of allows it to get at different angles, kind of extend a little bit more, things like that. The reason that it didn't affect me is because I want the compactness of something like this. I'll show you right here. This is the Theragun from Therabody, and you can see that this arm is actually quite movable. Again, in this case, it wasn't a really big deal for me. The one possible exception to that is my left arm, due to the shoulder surgery that I had to have because of car crash and all that sort of thing. I can't really reach it behind my body very much. I can't get kind of much above the back of my, or the bottom of my rib cage with my left arm. With my right arm, I can get quite far back. So here and there, yes, there are places that I might have a trouble getting to with my left arm. But again, if you've got a friend or my wife, in the case of me, I can just ask her, hey, could you really hammer this spot with that? So it didn't really affect me too much. And again, if you need that sort of extension, that sort of angular differential, that's something else that has a movable arm in place, that's great. But keep in mind, part of the appeal of this is the compact nature. So before we get into my personal performance review of the R1 from Roll Recovery, let's talk about a few specs. So the battery is a rechargeable lithium ion with 2200 ampere hours. I think I'm saying that right. Between 10.5 and 12.6 volts. It has a 40 watt power rating with a 50 watt maximum power. Now the amplitude, and what I mean by that is the amount of kind of up and down, right? So how much does it travel in and out, is 7 millimeters from basically from here to there. That's 7 millimeters of travel. And with that, there are 4 different speeds. Those are 1800, 2200, 2600, and 3200 RPMs. In other words, pulses per minute. Those are variable depending on the level, like level 1 through 4. First, let's talk about battery life real quick. I gotta be honest with you, this thing has 7 hours of battery life. I have yet to run it all the way dead, mostly because when I use it, it's after a workout. It's gonna be in the evening most likely, or immediately following that workout, and then a little bit later on that day, and then over the evening. And typically what I tend to do is just plug it in before I go to bed. 7 hours of battery life. It can be affected by the level you're at, right? So if you're using it level 1, that's where the 7 hours is, that I can presume. As you go up in the other levels, it's going to diminish a little bit, but I'm not using this for more than like maybe a half an hour at a time, really depending. Again, have yet to use it down to dead. I've also noticed that for me personally, when I've plugged this in during the day, from having used it for a while and maybe not plugged it in a little bit, but to go from wherever it is to fully charge is a little bit less than 2 hours. Now, interestingly, there is no like status, like here's what percentage of charged you are. This light down here, right below that charging port that I mentioned earlier, it's either kind of like charged or it's not, right? So it's either charging and then it's kind of complete, and it just changes color to let you know that it's completed charging. It would be nice to have maybe like a percentage. It would be nice maybe if these 4 lights up here or something which denote the level of massaging, kind of those different RPMs that you're at, maybe if those were kind of co-used to tell you exactly where you were in the charging cycle. I don't know. But in any event, again, I didn't come close to running it down all the way. So again, affecting battery life, and this is something, I have a 2-year-old son right now. This is something that is very good because he's figured out how to pick this up, push the button, and keep it on. So basically what you do is you push the button and hold it for a couple seconds, and then it turns on. So in his case, he has figured this out. And what's good about that is that it means he's kind of getting used to like using it on his body. He's not afraid of it, that sort of thing. What's bad about that is he turns it on, sets it on the couch, and just leaves it there. Fortunately, the R1 has a 15-minute auto off switch that it kind of doubles up for you, the user. For me, if I'm spending one time or a lot of time on one muscle group, it tells me, hey, this is something, maybe you can switch up to something else now, but also it's going to conserve battery life should you forget to shut it off. All right, so now let's talk about amplitude. This is the thing, that's 7 millimeters of travel that I mentioned a few minutes ago. This is the thing that's really going to allow you to get into a deep, deep muscle group. Now, in the case of this, with 7 millimeters of travel, there are certainly devices that have even more than double that. Just because something goes to the edge, kind of the extremes, like that really, really deep, like 18, 20 millimeters of travel, whatever it is, of amplitude, doesn't always mean it's necessary. We don't need to necessarily go to those places. For me, I found this plenty for most of the muscle groups that I was dealing with. The possible exception is the larger muscle groups, right? So gluteus maximus, not the medius, glute med at the top is fine. But the gluteus maximus, where you really have to get in deep to that muscle tissue, the thighs, the hamstrings, basically the whole thigh, the hamstrings, the quads, those are those things where sometimes you're really going to have to torque down on it. And it does help to have kind of a second party there to be able to really help you with those sometimes. Again, I did not feel like I couldn't reach anything, because if I was using the ball head or the flat head, there's no reason I couldn't swap out to the spike head here to really kind of get pinpointed into a particular muscle group to break up some of that tension. Certainly, I can see for those of you who don't want to have to do all that pushing, you want something with a little bit more amplitude, fine. But again, for the compact size and the nature of this, it does more than enough. Now let's talk about RPMs. That 3,200 RPM top end, I don't really use that very much, if I'm being honest. Let's get it up to, that's for the 3,200 RPMs, level 4. This is more than I use much of the time. Maybe I'm just a wimp, to be honest with you. But one of the things that I have noticed in looking at other devices that are out there on the market, for such as compact size at 7 millimeters, yes, it's not the longest amplitude in terms of depth of stroke, but one of the things that it does kind of exceed many of its competitors by is the number of RPMs. Most of them are going to hover below 3,000 RPMs. This guy going up to 3,200 is certainly one of the highest in the market. Overall, I'll say kind of some things you would expect and where this disappoints in a good way. So one, with a compact package, you would expect poor battery life because there's not really room for big giant batteries. You'd be wrong. 7 hours battery life is fantastic. You'd also expect something that might be a little bit noisy. Quite frankly, you'd be wrong. So I'm going to turn this on, hold it up to level 4, and hold it up to the microphone. That's it. So as well as you can hear me here, not very loud, right? It's nice and quiet, easy to, if you're kind of watching TV, listening to a podcast, what have you, it's going to do a good job without distracting you and disturbing people around you. The other thing is the versatility of the product and the ability to really address the needs that you have. Again, at 7 millimeters, it is certainly not the longest kind of depth of stroke or amplitude of the device that are compared to some of its competitors, but it's really going to get exactly where you need to. And the versatility of the 4 heads that come with it, the ball, the flat head, the spike, and the double spike that I mentioned a second ago, that double spike, for the record, going up that Achilles is fantastic. Those things are really going to allow you to address most, or at least in my case, most anything that I could need to address. All right, now here's the kicker. When I got this, I was very excited. I was kind of eager to try it. I've used other massage devices. With this guy, the thing that stands out to me is the price tag. This is $129. Now, if you've looked at percussion massage devices in the past, you know that there are some that can reach up close to $500, right? At $129, this is a fantastic buy. At that price point, you'll get not only kind of really good design, really high quality materials, but you'll get engineering nerd quality material that's athlete driven. Roll Recovery gets in there and puts athletes forward and really focuses on the needs of those people, both elite and amateur athletes. And for something like that to be $129 is really fantastic. Again, there are other colors of this. You can see those here, but I gotta be honest, I'm really glad that the red R1 showed up for me. It's a really great color. I like that kind of ruby red there. Just really a great device. It's compact. It's relatively lightweight. I mean, obviously there's batteries in there, so it's not gonna be, but so lightweight, really, really well built. Since its inception, Roll Recovery has really worked hard to think outside the box. With this guy, the R1, they've really brought the thunder again, and I really love, again, that they are looking out not just for the needs of athletes, they're looking out for the massage needs in this case, but they're also looking out for the wallets of athletes. They're not trying to gouge anybody on a price tag, and the R1 is a really great device to check out. If you have a favorite percussion massage device, I want to hear about it. Leave a comment down below. If it's the R1, let me know. If it's something else from Roll Recovery, they don't really have another percussion device, but if you've got something else from Roll Recovery that you really like their kind of flagship R8, those hands really reaching onto your leg that the R8 provides, let me know. We want to hear what helps you recover. If you've got something that you think that we should try out, also let us know down in the comments below. And as always, click those links down there. Anything that you check out there really helps us out here at Gearist. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Get out there, and we will see you next time.